Alright guys, I'm back with my weekly manga review video. This week there was no One Piece sadly, so it's just Naruto and Bleach. But before I get started, Robert A. Strickland left a comment asking what the difference is between anime and manga. Now for a lot of us fans it's a pretty easy thing, but some people do not know the difference. And the simple answer is manga is like a Japanese comic book, and an anime is an adaptation of that comic book, or it's just a cartoon of a different story altogether. So that's the simple answer. The more complicated one is, take for example One Piece. One Piece started off as a manga first. Manga's a little bit different. It's written by one guy. Sometimes it'll be one guy and one artist, but it's also a long continuous story. Like manga starts and ends, and the characters grow and get stronger, unlike a lot of comic books where this issue they fight this villain and he's defeated in one issue. So I do prefer manga because of that reason, that it doesn't get all complicated. Like one guy may spend a long time working on Spider-Man and developing new things, and then someone else may come and just take over and completely redo what that guy did, and it just gets more confusing with American comic books. The reason I personally don't really watch anime is because I prefer the original artist representation of what he wanted. Oda wants One Piece this way, and I think the anime has done a great job with One Piece. There's very little filler, but sometimes when you're watching anime, you'll come across some episodes that are considered filler, which basically means in the actual story of manga, it doesn't happen. So instead of going to the next island in One Piece, they may go off to a small island and have some type of crazy, wacky adventure that never actually takes place in the manga. So I prefer not to waste my time with any filler. Naruto is probably the worst with filler, but I just kind of don't really care that much for anime because you can read at your own pace with the manga. You're getting exactly what the story's supposed to be. It's all canon. And an example of filler is when you're reading Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball. The fights are much quicker. There's not all this grunting and powering up that takes forever in the anime. Like, none of that stuff exists in the manga. There is scenes like that, but it doesn't last for chapters and chapters. So it goes at a much quicker pace. So I just kind of prefer manga. I hope I explained this well enough. I know it still sounds kind of confusing, but hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. So the manga that I review is just the original Japanese comic that comes out every single week. So on to this week's chapters for Naruto 594, the Progenitor. Am I the only one who was kind of disappointed with this whole Ten Tails thing? I mean, it just, I don't know, this felt like a total ass pull. And I am not biased, I'm just trying to be honest here. That's just how I felt about this. Toby decides to revive the Ten Tails, and now he can just do that. He even goes on to say later that the Ten Tails, even if it's not complete, he can still go along with the Moon's Eye plan. So my first question is, why did he announce a war? Why did he even start a war? He already had the piece of B. And if Genku and Kinkaku were already under this Edo Tensei spell, then why didn't he just have Kabuto bring them back and seal themselves into this stuff and just feed it and summon the Ten Tails right then and there? Why this huge elaborate plan that has failed miserably? It makes no sense at all. This was very disappointing to me. I was reading this chapter like, why the hell did he do any of this? He already had the power to go about his plan. He didn't need to announce a war. He just made more problems for himself. So I was very disappointed with that. However, there were some cool panels here. The best part was Kurama talking about the Ten Tails' power, how it can drink oceans and carry mountains, and I thought that was a really cool feel. But yeah, just the entire reason we got that already was just very disappointing. Naruto gets pissed off that Toby wants to basically make everybody a zombie and just have them not be able to think for themselves. So Naruto snaps, talks about becoming Hokage. He tries to attack the giant statue, and his attack is deflected by Toby, and then they set up like they're going to have their fight next chapter. It's supposed to be a color page, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to seeing Toby without the mask. I mean, I think we've all been waiting for that for years now. But as far as this whole Ten Tails revival, that was just some kind of crap, I thought. I didn't really care much for that at all. It makes the entire war meaningless. So on to Bleach, chapter 501. Here, fear, here. Ichigo is still trapped inside the prison. But we did get a fight, Byakuya versus As Not. He's fighting this guy the entire chapter, and he's really getting his ass handed to him by this guy. As Not uses these little thorns, which he stabs people with, and apparently it injects them with fear. He's very much like the Scarecrow in Batman. His power is fear. Renji wants to jump in, but Byakuya says, you won't be able to fight this guy and see the extent of his abilities, and that's what we need to know to stop them. So Byakuya is kind of sacrificing himself here. But As Not explains that the only reason he's still standing is his willpower is so strong that he can fight back against the fear. Most people, their heart would explode or something like that. So they're fighting, and then all of a sudden, Byakuya, who's still fighting back, sees Rukia. She's like all dead and decaying. She's got like an eyeball hanging out, and he suddenly gets like frozen. He's frozen by this fear. And then he sees like all these bugs climbing on top of him. And the last thing we see in this chapter was As Not standing over him and like all this blood coming out of Byakuya. So I thought it was a very good chapter. Once again, they are making these Quincy's look very, very powerful. I'm still a little afraid that Ichigo's going to show up and kick all their asses, and I do not want to see that. I think they really need to build these villains up strong. Hopefully we'll get to see some new Bankais, like Unohana's, once Ichigo gets there and they figure out how to use their Bankais again. I was kind of hoping that Kenpachi, and this could still happen, that Kenpachi shows up, fights As Not, and has no fear. That would be great. It would kind of be like in One Piece when Usopp fights Perona, and he's so negative that the negative hollows have no effect on him. It would be so badass if Kenpachi showed up, because he doesn't have a Bankai anyway, or at least he doesn't use one, and he could just fight this person and no fear works on him. That would be awesome. So who knows, maybe Kubo will do something like that. It'll be really cool, but as far as I know, all chapters next week, so that's really it for this week, guys. Hope you liked the video. Leave your thoughts on this week's chapters in the comments below, and thanks for watching. Bye.